What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know I've been away for a while. I have been streaming almost every day on Twitch, but I have not been doing much on YouTube recently. But I've wanted to come back and show you guys all the new dungeons that have come out in Season 3 of Dragonflight, and prepare you to push some high level of keys, hopefully down the line. I've gotten every dungeon this season in the first week past a 20 already, so I've had my fair share of, pug experiences and playing with a group, so I've kind of got an idea, I would hope, of everything to do in these dungeons. Now, fair warning, these dungeons can be subject to change, which, as of the making of this video, a change is coming very, very soon, which a lot of the dungeons will have differed from what previous guides would have been saying before the patch went live. So I'm doing Murozond's Rise right now to start off the series, because this is probably one of the dungeons that isn't going to be changed as much as some others. So I think we're safe here to start off with this. So let's start off with the dungeon. This is us doing a 20. We're going to start pulling with these vanguards. Now, this first pull is a triple pull here. Pull some vanguards. We're going to pull this keeper, and then we're going to pull this big boy over here. Now, as you can see, most of the things that you're seeing right now, there's a bunch of interrupts that you need to get. So, epoch bolts, and there's a bunch of rending cleaves. Now, obviously, cleaves are a frontal, melee, and everyone else do not stand in front of the tank. Very simple. So, as you can see, the rest of the group is on the side, which is great. The epoch bolts are important to interrupt, but not as important as some other abilities, which you will see in a moment, called corroding volley. Now, that specific ability is going to, if it goes off, smack pretty much everyone for a lot of damage. Now, it's a very long cast time, so it's very easy to just allocate someone to make sure that that specific ability is stopped. And I'm pretty sure those come from those Maguses over there, or the ones that are marked on the screen. The Infinite Twilight. We've got a Vanguard padding over here as well. Now, as you can see, it is Sanguine Weak as well, so being a DK is very, very beneficial, because I can just grip them out. Now, this Time Sworn Keeper over here, this guy does two abilities. He'll do a slam on the ground, but also put this up, which is a bulwark, which will nullify all damage of anything that's in it. So, if you want to stand in it and pull this with more mobs, you can do so. I'm pretty sure it works for players as well, but just as soon as that goes down, move them out as soon as possible. As the tank, really try and make sure you're positioning properly and not like turning around and facing the mobs towards other players. And as you can see, that slam, it put some swirls underneath your feet. Just move to the side. Very simple. Now I've got this next group of mobs. So same mobs as before. You've got a Magus over here. You've got your Vanguard that does the frontal, and now you've got the Maiden, which does two abilities. One, which is an AoE blast, does a little bit of damage to everyone. That just needs to be healed off. And then you've got the Orb of Contemplation, which is this one, which is pretty much, it goes forward and back, so it's just like a boomerang effect. Now this, to my knowledge, which I was told by a chatter of mine, that this ball here actually does hit other mobs as well. So theoretically, you could line up a bunch of mobs and pull a little bigger, but place the mobs in the line of this orb, and it will do damage. Now, I personally don't think it's significant enough damage to warrant maybe hitting someone with a cleave, or maybe, potentially putting Sanguine on the ground and keeping the Maiden in there for too long. There are benefits and positives here, but I personally just play it safe. Just stay still so the DPS can do their job, and you can focus on making sure that in this particular instance, the mobs are not healing the Maiden with Sanguine. As you can see here. Good. Okay, so we move it a little bit, but that does hurt quite a lot, so make sure you dodge the orb. So we'll continue on. Our next pull here. So, pro tip here, first pro tip of the video. There's 3 main mobs here. You've got the Titan at the beginning, the one with the slam and the shield. You've got the Maiden that we just killed, and then you've got this guy, the Time Sworn Sentinel. Now, once you've killed all 3 of these, the boss will begin its roleplay and start to spawn. Now, you want to kill these 3 as soon as possible while keeping the other mobs alive, because then you can do the other mobs and kill them while the boss is spawning. Otherwise, you're going to be just sitting there for about 40 seconds waiting for the boss to spawn with absolutely nothing else to do. So that's just a waste of time. Doing these mobs first will save you a lot of time at the beginning, and the timer on this dungeon is, I think it's quite tight compared to other dungeons, I would say. So again, these ones, corrosive volleys and epoch bolts. Now you see here, it's casting Shrouding Sandstorm. Now, this specific mob does not target a ranged, it targets a random player, and it'll grab them and pull them into a ranged position. So it doesn't matter if there's no baiting or anything like that, it's just, it'll grab someone randomly and bring you out. So what needs to happen, as you can see, we have our warrior here, he heroic leaps immediately into the sand to interrupt it, because you cannot interrupt this mob, and you cannot target this mob unless you're in the shrouding sandstorm. So someone has to go in there to interrupt. I prefer it if a range does this, but range usually have higher interrupt cooldown, so it's much easier for someone like a warrior or a demon hunter or something with a lot of movement in order to get this done quickly, because it does a lot of damage very quickly. That's pretty much the entirety of that specific mob there, the Time Sworn. The rest of these mobs, again, you've got your epoch bolts, your corrosive volleys, and then you've got your frontal cleaves. That's pretty much it. So keep on going with the rest of these mobs. Very standard. Just keep pulling until you are done with the rest of the platform. And now we'll get to the first boss, which is Tyr, the Infinite Keeper. Now, first thing to do with this boss is we are going to make sure, as the tank, we are positioning the boss on the outer rim of the arena. Now, as the rest of the group, you're going to be along the outer rim of the arena, not the inner rim, because you want to be baiting all its abilities outside. Now, first ability is going to be those 2 circles that just come out. So it's called the Spark of Tyr. This ability needs to be dispelled by the healer. Now, there's 2 of them that come out. You can dispel both of them at the same time if you're a priest and you want to do mass dispel, but I probably wouldn't recommend it unless it's a lowish key and you know your group can deal with the damage coming out. So usually you just want to dispel one, and then the other one can just fall off itself, or you just dispel it as well. You don't really want this going off at the same time as Dividing Strike, which is going to be the AoE Soak that you're going to see in a second. Titanic Blow, which you see on the screen, is the tank frontal, and then Infinite Annihilation is, I mean, you can see all 3 of them are happening at the same time, actually, so we're going to see a spell queue here. So there's your Dividing Strike, which is going to go on the tank. Everyone needs to soak this. So, see, this is a bad situation. You've got Dividing Strike happening at the same time as a Hunter with the old ability on him still, which is going to be a lot of AoE damage in one go. So this is not the best idea, but you pretty much want to have, at this point, the Hunter use the defensive. So the Hunter would probably turtle at this point, and then we would just soak this ourselves, because if the Hunter brings it into us, we're all going to take damage from that orb as well that's on the Hunter. So as you can see, Dividing Strike's about to happen. Hunter does pop a turtle, fantastic, and then we're all here. So now, as we're moving around, it hasn't been dispelled yet. He waits until the Hunter is away, and then dispels it when we are not in the circle as well. So that was just that was the bait just then on the rest of the group, which will be the Infinite Annihilation. So that's why you want to be facing, you want to be positioning yourself towards the outside, because none of this stuff on the ground ever goes away during the entire fight. It's going to stay forever. So you want to maximize your space, because you don't know how long this fight's going to be, especially on Tyrannical Week, because this is only fortified. So that was the frontal just then for the tank. So as you can see, I used Pop the Death's Advance as a DK, so it doesn't knock me back, but this does knock back pretty far. So as a tank, if you're not a Death Knight, you want to make sure that you either have some sort of gap closer to leap back in, or charge back in, or just don't put yourself in a position where you're going to get yeeted off the edge, because if you die like that, it's kind of a bad time. So that's another bait which is there. It's very good. The guys over here doing really well. So now, as you can see, if you look just below Tyr's health, he's got a bar here. Every ability that he does will reduce the energy level by 25%. So that means 4 abilities will end up depleting his energy. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. Once he hits 0, he has about 5 seconds before he starts casting a shield into the middle of the arena. Now, the best way to position the boss is to try and pull him into the middle, so then the melee can actually hit the boss at the same time as gathering the orbs that are going to be coming into the center. Because the range can still hit him, but the melee won't. Now, as you can see, I'm a Death Knight. I'm a bit slow. I should have moved a little earlier, but, you know, better safe than sorry. So now these orbs are coming out. Now, every orb you pick up is giving you a stacking damage buff. So you want to make sure, or a stacking buff. I'm pretty sure it's damage or it's haste. It's one of them. But it's a buff nevertheless, so you want to be getting as much as you can. It stacks up to 5 maximum. So grab 5 and then let everyone else take it. Then you're going to be bursting down the shield. So that's how you burst down the shield a little faster, is because you gather the orbs. And then it's pretty much just rinse and repeat. If an orb does touch the middle stone, it will do a massive AoE pulse. And if about 2 of them hit the stone, you're probably going to die. It's not a good idea. As you can see, I didn't have a Death's Advance there, so I got knocked back. That's how far you can see the distance is for the knockback. But the rest of the fight is pretty much the same. You just go around the edge, just choose clockwise or anti-clockwise, keep baiting to the outside. The boys are doing very well with that. And then that's about it. So perfect. Alright, so the boss is done. We are on to the next pack, which is going to be this Timeline Marauder and an Infinite Watchkeeper. Now, you want to kill the Marauder first because he does a bunch of abilities that really suck. So, Displace Charge, make sure you interrupt that. The Dragon's going to put some stuff on the ground, just dodge that. And this is the annoying bit. Infinite Schism. It'll keep following you and just kind of rotate and follow you 4 times with the swirls on the ground. And then the dragon here is just going to do a big AoE and just constantly do AoE damage, which is very annoying. But it's a lot easier to dodge the dragon's abilities than it is to dodge the marauder's abilities. So Infinite Fury, this is the big AoE that the healer just has to heal off. And yeah, that's pretty much that. But you want to make sure you kill the keeper first, and kill the small mob first before you kill the dragon, which is very simple. So this dragon's about to die, and this is pretty much the hardest boss in the entire instance, the Gauntlet. Now, I am notoriously horrible at this. If anyone from the stream is watching, you know how bad I am at this. For some reason, I cannot for the life of me get this right, but you just pretty much have to yeet forward and dodge everything. Now, it's much easier if you have everyone going, because not all of the abilities from these mobs are going to go on you. They're going to go on a lot of different people, so it's a lot... I find it a lot easier if everyone's going at the same time. If I'm going by myself, I'm almost always going to die to something. And no, you cannot AMS any of these. I have tried it. It doesn't work. But some miraculous way, I did do it on the first try in this run, which is the run I'm using for the video, and that is literally the only reason why. I'm not even kidding. But yeah, so here we have an orb at the end. For the people that didn't make it, you can use this, channel it, and then the first orb that you got before the gauntlet, it will appear. A teleporter will appear, and then you can just click that instead of having to wait for everyone to get there, you know? Now we've got a diversionist here, and we've got the other Drake here as well. Now, the other Drake does the frontal that you see, but this one does that massive AoE. Now, you can release here, by the way. This is the new release point. As soon as you get past that gauntlet, the release point is right there. As you see, our Evoker just died and needed to res. Luckily, the res point is right there. Now, the Timeless Curses, also, the swirls on the ground. If you do end up standing in one, you get stunned for about 4 seconds. It is not good. So, yeah, it's not just a little bit of damage. It is a big stun. So, the reason why you kill the Diversionist first is because it does the massive AoE. You want the healer to, you know, not be ooming at this point and using all his mana, because there is a lot of rough trash coming up now. So this next part is very healing intensive. There are some mobs that you just want to be really careful about, and you'll see them in a second. But the main way to do this is you pull a bunch of mobs. Don't over pull very slowly. Take your time with it. Every time one of these fusions die, it'll do a little explosion, and then it'll clear a bunch of the sand on the ground. So all you're doing is you're going to start from right, or you're going to start from left, and you're just pretty much clearing a pathway all the way, connecting all the portals around the area. So you've got 5 portals over here, so you're going to grab a few. Also, if you touch the sand, you do take a lot of damage. I'm a Death Knight though, so I'm just going to heal myself back up. So I'm only pulling a few, alright? So we got these abilities, which is Triple Strike. It's just melee damage on the tank. Just heal it up, use a defensive, you know, tank things. As you can see, everything that dies does a little pulse, so it does a little bit of damage, but also clears a bit of the sand. Now, the first annoying mob is this Rift Mage over here. Now, it does 2 abilities. Temporal Blast, which is on the tank. You can pretty much tank and spank that, there's no problem. It's a little bit of damage, but it's okay. This ability, Infinite Burn, needs to be interrupted. It is a very important thing to interrupt. It does a massive dot on someone, and it is not needed, especially with how much healing is going on here. Please help your healers as much as possible. Healing is extremely stressful. Trust me, I've tried it, and I did not like it one bit. I would much prefer to tank. Even though tanking is quite stressful in itself, I would much rather tank than heal. So props to all the healers out there. So, yep, we're just going to continue going here. We've got the Rift Mage here, we've got the fusions and the deviations, which are the standard mobs here, nothing too crazy. So the only difference here is the deviations do a double strike, and then the fusions do a triple strike. So it's just a little bit more melee damage, pretty much, is all you're looking at. There's literally nothing else they do. So you got the Rift Mage again, and then you can probably see patrolling around. You've got these big mobs. I think there should be 1 on each side. So as you can see there was one just padding in the middle there. But I'm gonna make sure these are cleared first, because if you pull one of these and an anomaly as well, it gets a little bit spicy. So the anomaly, this bad boy is the tank buster. This one hurts a lot. Now it starts off a little bit low in health. This is mirrored in the other part of the Mega Dungeon, and these start with max health and a lot worse because they don't die as much. Bloom is a massive magic dot on you. As the DK, AMS this every time. It removes it stops the application. Make sure you AMS this, because this hurts a lot, especially in conjunction with the next ability that it's going to do, which is going to be a massive frontal, which you need to make sure it's not facing anyone. So this is your untwist. Does a big amount of damage. As you can see, that was half my health. It was not fun. And trust me, on a higher key, even with your cooldowns, that will almost one-shot you. Now we're going to continue pulling. So you're going to just watch that Chromie's just going to walk around and start unlocking these portals. So this portal just here that opened up is going to go over to the Time Lost Battlefield. I personally like to clear this whole area first. So we're going to go to Morchie first. So this is just, we're going to go around the area. Same old mobs. There's nothing different. And we're going to go to about here-ish. So this is the other side. This is the last or the second last portal. So this is a pretty big pull here. You're going to see how much damage actually comes out when you start pulling a little bit too big. So as you see, some people are, oh, okay, we have a death there. I'm pretty sure I die here eventually, because we end up pulling a bit too much, if I remember correctly. Yep, here we go. So I die there. I try to run back, and I'm pretty sure because I think I can run through the sand, but I end up just dying anyway to ticking damage. So that's a little embarrassing, but you know, you live and you learn. So yeah, the ticking damage is just a bit too much, so you have to run around. So as you can see, there's these little portals that spawn every time you use one. You can actually just step into one of these portals, and it'll port you to the next corresponding place. So if I stick in here, it'll just port me to the next one. So if I'm going to stand in here maybe, and then it'll port me over to the other side. Perfect. So that makes it a little quicker, I guess, to get to the destination if you do die. That's just a little tip there. Now, this next part, can only be done with a priest, because Mind Soothe things, and this mob can only be affected by Mind Soothe, unless you have Invis Pots or you have a rogue that can just shroud you both ways. It's kind of impossible, so you probably have to do this mob. Now, unfortunately, we do have a priest, so I can't show you what this mob does, but pretty much that mob specifically has a big ability that you need to stop, otherwise you get stunned for a long time, and then summons a bunch of adds where you need to just kite them around and interrupt a bunch of stuff as well. It's basic mobs, right? Like, interrupt the abilities, dodge the stuff on the floor, don't point anything at anyone else, standard stuff. Now, Morchie is the second boss of the instance. You're going to have to wait for a bit of RP, so if someone can run ahead a little quicker, they can start the RP a bit quicker. You don't have to wait here for too long, which is good. This boss is interesting. I haven't seen a boss like this in a while. But you're going to start the boss off. Do not pop your cooldowns at the start. It is going to transition into the second phase, or the next phase, very quickly. So you're going to lose a lot of uptime if you pop your cooldowns at the start. Just wait. So Sandblast is the tank ability. It is going to follow you. You will not be able to dodge it. It'll do a lot of damage, so make sure you use a cooldown every time it gets hit on you. And when you're in like a bit of a hectic phase, try to make sure you're pointing it away from people, because it will one-shot anyone else but you. So more problems are going to come out right now. As you can see, we're about, 10 seconds into the fight, and we're already transitioning. So, again, like I said, if you pop your cooldowns at the start, you're wasting your cooldowns. So it's going, Morchie's going to split into all of these images, and you're looking for the one without a hat. So pretty much what she looks like right now, when you first start the encounter. The normal version of Morchie. Now, with my frames, they kind of cover her hat, so I can't really tell. So you can either, trust that your teammates are going to find the right one, or you just turn off your nameplates during this, which I do, and then I find myself. So I found that, yep, Moon is the right one. Now we're going to go behind to not get hit by this Dragon's Breath, and then we're going to repeat the same phase. So Sandblast is coming up again, and then the last ability that Morchie's going to do is called Time Traps, which it's going to put time traps down and then spawn an image of you next to you. So what you want to do with here, ranged players are going to go into ranged time traps and then spawn the ranged mobs near their own time traps. Now you can CC these images, but eventually if you're doing this on like Tyrannical or something, you're gonna run out of room because the time traps don't disappear. Like, you need to put a mob into them before they disappear. And if you stand in the time trap, you get stunned and you'll probably die. Now, as you can see there, your image follows you, and all you need to do is put the image into the time trap. That's it. The problem is, every time you do that, it'll do a pulsing AoE to the rest of the group. So, on Fortified, it's okay to put them all at the same time. In Tyrannical, take it easy a little bit. Like, do it one at a time. Take your time with it. The healer's going to thank you for it. It might get a little rough. Don't overdo it. And that's pretty much the fight. Just rinse, repeat, same old, until we kill Morchie. Now, next part of this dungeon, we're now going to, finish off the boss here, and then we're going to go to the other end of this platform. So not from where we came, we're going to keep going forward, and we're going to go all the way around to Time Lost Battlefield now. So again, we're using the Mind Soothe skip here. You can just walk around it, because it's Mind Soothed, which is very important. So Priest here is awesome, because you can skip these mobs. These mobs take a while, and it's much better to skip these mobs than to skip other mobs. These mobs are just, singular mobs, only give a few percent. It's not really worth it to sit down and deal with it, if you know what I mean. You're never really in any dungeons you don't really want to sit there and just hit one mob. It's very it's just not efficient at all. You always want to be pulling quite a lot, or pulling onto bosses and stuff, but unfortunately this week is Sanguine, so pulling onto bosses is a little bit sketchy, and it can go very wrong very quickly, so just try your best not to do that in this specific scenario. It's going to run all the way to the other side. Now, these mobs here, next to the Time Lost Battlefield, are going to be these pendules. You just wait for them to kind of patrol to the opposite sides, and then you can just run through the middle. You don't need to do these. These are lost count here. You don't need those. They're very annoying to deal with as well. They all like cast the same thing, and you have to move them out of Sanguine and all that. It's always fun. So here we have Alliance Destroyer. This is the pre-mini boss before the actual boss. So all this is going to do is cast Volatile Mortar, which is going to be targeting one person. It's going to put a bunch of shit on the ground. You just need to make sure you dodge, dodge, dodge. And then the second ability is going to be Deploy Dwarven Bombs. So these bombers are all going to spawn in the same place. You just need to kind of hard CC or slow them and then just nuke them down from range. Because if they hit you, you have a nasty dot. It's not fun. So all you do, just grab them in, nuke them down. You see I have a dot, but I'm a tank. Who cares? Happy days. I'm just trying to keep them away from the ranged so they can do their job and just nuke this down. I like to lust this, so then we get lust for the last boss as well. I lust this specifically because, as you can see, it's a lot of damage. Our Evoker just dies there. So we need to just get rid of it as soon as possible. Like, our lust is up, we might as well, right? The rest of the boss fight is not really that hard. This one's the one that kind of, like, freaks people out a little bit. People get very scared about these dwarves. They don't like them running straight at them with a bomb strapped to them, obviously. So we're going to kill this Volatile Mortar, and then it's going to spawn another 3 mobs, and then it's going to spawn the boss. So we got the 2 Alliance Knights and the Paladin of the Silver Hand. Alliance Knights, all they're going to do is cast Rallying Shout, just make sure you interrupt those. And then the Paladin's going to cast Consecrate. The Sunder is just, you know, armor reduction, but I parry that, so it's fine. Consecrate, don't stand in it, it does a lot of damage. Like, it ticks quite hard, so not the best thing. But yeah, that's about those mobs. That's about it. As you can see all these, like, these other mobs around here, like these images. That'll come into play later. So keep on with the Consecrate, and then now we have the actual boss, which is going to be Anduin Lothar. So Anduin Lothar does Mortal Strikes, big tank buster mechanic, and reduces your healing by a metric shit ton. And then it's going to do Shockwave. It's going to do 3 successive Shockwaves for the Alliance, which is going to be summoning 3 mobs. There's going to be 1 melee, 1 archer, 1 mage, and then it's going to do a Blade Storm straight afterwards, so just make sure you're not in the Blade Storm. Just follow someone and then turn and just continuously go. Standard stuff. And then that's pretty much rinse, repeat, same 4 abilities. Mortal Strike, which is the tank buster, for the Alliance, which is summoning the mobs, Shockwave, which is the frontals you dodge, and then Blade Storm, which you just have to run away from. Very, very standard stuff. So those images there are just the ones that are getting summoned by the boss. If you didn't notice, every time he does For the Alliance, a few of those images turn into actual mobs. And then that is the boss fight there for Time Lost Battlefield. Now we're going to finish that off, and we're going to just go back the same way we just came from, where we dodged those mobs before. You don't want to go the other way, because that way you can't actually just run through the middle. That patrol actually goes through the middle of the area. This one goes side to side across the area. So that's why you run through this area instead. So I'm going to go through, and now we're heading over to the last boss, which is Chrono-Lord Deios. We've only got 1 mob pack before this, which is going to be our last 7% for the dungeon. So this is pretty much 100% bang-on route, which is what you want. You don't really want to go too over percent, because you're kind of just wasting time at that point. There's a lot more efficiency there. Pretty much every dungeon you go through, you can eventually get to a very almost close to or bang-on 100% count. As you can see, I went the wrong way. I had to walk back. But this is the way to go. I'm going to go to the last area. Now you'll see a lot of similarities, obviously, with the first part of this mega dungeon, because this is the tail end of the mega dungeon. And the whole area pretty much is the same. It's from different times. So it'll be ones, I think, pretty much ones from the future and ones from the past. We have to wait for this portal to open. We'll go in. And then we have some mobs that we had from the beginning of the dungeon making their appearance again. So you're gonna have that. You're gonna have those 2 mobs that spawned before, right after the first boss. which are going to be those marauders that do those swirls on the ground that follow you, and then the ability that you need to interrupt as well. And then you've also got that Infinite Slayer, which does the AoE damage, also does the frontal on the tank, which you have to dodge. So there's a lot going on, as you can see. So again, main thing here is you want to be killing those mobs, the small mobs first, so then you can get rid of those needing to interrupt it, and then also get rid of the swirls following you, because it's very annoying to try and deal with that, especially as a healer, trying to move at the same time as healing everyone while this massive pulsing AoE is coming out. It is quite annoying. But yeah, as you can see, there's quite a bit of damage coming out. It's not the nicest pack. You can lust this on a fortified if you really need to on a higher key. At the moment, it's okay to deal with. Like, our healer's doing a bang-up job keeping us all alive here. So we'll finish that off, and then that's our count there. And now we're going to run to the last boss. So as you can see, like, our damage is decent. My damage is really low. I have pretty much... I don't have any optimized gear whatsoever. I don't have the new tier set or anything like that. This is again, mind you, week 1. So nothing's really optimized. We're kind of low in eye level. We're roughly like 460-ish. I would say pretty much everyone here is about 455 to 460. So we're doing quite well for our eye level here. I would say. But yeah, it was quite good because this was the last portal that I needed to finish off all the portals. As you can see Galakron in the back there, big man himself. And then we're pulling Chrono-Lord Deios. So in order to get him down, you just attack him with a ranged ability. Now this is the first part of the fight, and then there'll be a second phase later on. So first part of the fight, we've got our first ability, which is Infinity Orb, which is going to place 2 orbs on the ground. As you can see, so those swirls on the ground there with the orb coming down. Now it's going to place it on 2 ranged players. So at the moment we've got our Evoker, we've got our Hunter, and we've got our Priest. So it's going to put it on one is always going to be on the healer, the other one's always going to be on another range. Now if you don't have another range, it's going to choose a random melee, so good luck with that. Now the way to deal with this is it's best if the healer does it, because the healer knows when they have heals readily available. If you have someone else doing this, they could move out at the wrong time when they're not ready to heal, and it could screw things up. But all you're going to see is our Evoker's immediately going to move out of theirs. It's going to drop on the ground. Or our Evoker's actually going to stand there because we didn't actually discuss this properly. So you can see the one behind the boss explodes first, and we've got this debuff here. Now what happens is, if the next one falls with this debuff still up, we all die. But if this falls off, and then this comes down, we're safe. So you just want to make sure you have a timing. And the way to slow this coming down is for someone to stand in it, and it'll slowly fall instead of just speeding itself down to the ground. So that's why our Evoker's standing there. He's going to wait for this to fall off, and then move out, and that's going to drop. Now, we spawn the Timekeeper, which is going to happen. It's going to go 1 Timekeeper, then 1 more Timekeeper, and then the third set is going to be 2 Timekeepers. So you want to make sure that you are focusing one of the Timekeepers in the 2 set, because they constantly do damage, and if they're up for too long, 2 of them up is going to be very bad, and it's going to have a lot of damage coming out. Also, you've got this Temporal Blast, which is on the tank. Tank just needs to make sure it's faced away from everyone else. Very simple stuff. Or Temporal Breath, sorry. My apologies. So it's just going to do Infinite Blast, which is literally, as you can see, you can't interrupt it. So you just want to make sure you kill it as soon as possible. You've got those orbs coming out as well. Same old, watch for the debuff. The other one spawns, you got the breath again. And then it's going to summon the second Infinite Keeper, which is right here. Now you cannot slow this, you cannot grip this, you can't do any of that. It's just going to run. So you just want to make sure you nuke them down as soon as possible. On Tyrannical, I highly recommend, having cooldowns for these mobs, because they will kill you eventually. And then after the third set of Keepers come out, the double set, the boss is just going to go up in the air, wait for you to finish these, wait for you to make sure these Keepers are dead, and then it's going to start phase 2. So now you've got the double Keepers, you've got the orb still. Now you watch this, the breath is about to come out. A lot of tanks are going to be running this way to chase these mobs while everyone else is targeting them, and then the breath's going to go on the mobs, and then you might, you know, accidentally hit a player. So make sure you stay there, watch your timings, keep this breath. So as you can see, I figure it out, I'm like, oh, damn, I almost killed everyone. I'm going to move back to that way. Now the dragon's going to go away, so you don't have to worry about tanking him anymore. Just run straight to the ads, get them dead as soon as possible, finish off those orbs. Lovely, lovely. And then second phase will begin. Now, as you can see, when those mobs are about to die, there's these small ads that come out. They pretty much do nothing. Just kill them. I don't know why they even have them in this fight, to be honest. They really just don't do anything. So after you've killed these, then... So we ended up taking a little bit too long, so we still have Infinity Orbs come out. We should have killed them before the Infinity Orbs came out. Now, the ability of Stage 2 is going to come out. Now, everyone should be kind of stacking on the tank here. Everyone's kind of just off doing their own thing at the moment, but... Okay, now everyone convenes, which is good. We're just waiting for that Infinity Orb to come out, which is fine. Now, we're all moving to the same direction, as you can see, because they all spawn on all the players. So you want to make sure this stuff disappears, but a long way away down the line of the fight. So you want to make sure you're, again, maximizing the amount of space in the room for you. Now, immediately, the boss is going to come down. It's going to breath. Make sure you face it away. It's going to do its orbs again. And then it's going to do infinite corruption, which is going to be the stuff on the ground again. This is just a DPS race to make sure that you can kill the boss before the entire room is filled. Or until your healer runs out of mana. Which is, you know, pretty much the rest of the fight. So it's just breath, breath, orbs move, breath, orbs move. And you just keep on going with the same 3 abilities. Until you end up killing the boss. And you've now scored yourself a portal. Now again, you will only get this portal if you have done a 20 or higher on both Galakron's Fall and Murozond's Rise. So, not just one half, it has to be both halves. And then you'll get the Mega Dungeon Portal. But yeah, that's the end of the guide. I hope I didn't blabble too much. Or babble too much, sorry. And I hope you guys learned something. If there's anything I missed, or you have any extra tips and tricks, please put them down in the comment section below. Please give a like to the video so I know that you enjoyed the video. Give me any tips on what I can do to change to make it easier for you guys to digest the information. And without further ado, thank you very much for watching. I will be over at twitch.tv/triplebs pretty much every day, helping people with their keys and getting them their portals, their mounts, pushing IO with them, just everything. So if you need help, yeah, just come over. And I'll catch you then. And I'll see you for the next video. Thank you very much. And peace out.